Today I'm going to be bleeding my brake lines and putting new brake fluid in my KLR 650. Let's do it. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the lid to my reservoir, and sometimes these screws are in there pretty tight, so make sure you have a nice fat Phillips head bit that can kind of really grab and grip those screws as you remove them. Otherwise you could strip them. Okay, as I remove the cap here now, you'll notice how dirty the fluid is. But before, I'm going to set this lid over here. Just going to set that here. Okay. And as you can see, that is some pretty dirty fluid in there. If you can see, there you go. So we're going to go ahead now and put new fluid in there and start bleeding it. One thing I forgot to mention is before we fill it with new brake fluid, we want to take note of where the current level is on there, so that when we get it back to with the new fluid, we'll want to be right about that same line. One reason why is if you just fill it all the way to the top, if you look at the lid here, that lid has a pretty good profile to it, and so that actually pushes down into the fluid. If you push that, if the fluid's higher than that, then you'll make a mess with fluid squirting all over the place. But as I mentioned, this is on a KLR 650 2009, and I'm going to be using this .4 brake fluid. Now I'm topping off the reservoir with new brake fluid. And this is something you'll want to do periodically as you're bleeding the brakes. You're sucking the old out and just keep topping this off in here. Okay, to help bleed my brakes today, I'm using this bleed vacuum pump. So I got it off Amazon, but you see here with the red handles, that's the actual pump connected to a reservoir, and then that's connected to this, which this will connect straight up here to the actual valve right there. Oops, sorry, right there. I'll go right on there. So I'm just going to get this connected up, and then we'll start. Now with the pump, I'm going to take this. I'm actually going to pump this up to about 15 pumps or so. So my valve, this gauge is actually not right, but that's what I'm going to start with, and we'll go from here. As you're bleeding the brakes, you always want to make sure that you keep this reservoir full of fluid. Otherwise, if it gets down and sucks in air, then you'll have to start over again. But as you can see, the fluid's a lot clearer than it was before. And yeah. And here's all the fluid that we pumped out of the front brake line. As you can see, it's really dark. Just old fluid, but the new fluid's in there now. Yeah, I mean, you can see the line, it's clean. You don't see any of the brown fluid in there. It's all clear stuff that's already gotten sucked out. So that's all it takes. Then we'll repeat the process on the rear.